Last year in April I visited the Fo Guang Shan temple in London. I had visited the Fo Guang Shan temple before, but this time I made a real connection when I actually had a chance to talk and learn from the Venerables at London Fo Guang Shan and the lay people of the Buddha Light International Association, in particular the Venerable Abbess Miaoshiang. I had visited Fitzrovia in London many times and walked the busy streets that mark its borders. Oxford Street filled with travellers, tourists and shoppers. Euston Road always packed with buses, taxis and other traffic. They marked an area's northern and southern borders. Never would I have thought that just north of Oxford Street, a stone's throw away from the BBC Broadcasting House, is a Buddhist temple that dedicates its time to charity, contemplation and education. Fo Guang Shan's Singapore temple and quite a few other temples are purpose-built. They are designed to accommodate the many activities of the Fo Guang Shan and the Buddha Light International Association. The start of the construction of the building at 84 Margaret Street was roughly 60 years before the birth of Fo Guang Shan's founder, Venerable Master Hsing, and it predates the opening of the Fo Guang Shan main temple in Taiwan by nearly 100 years. It is clear from this that the building was planned and built for a different purpose, but it doesn't feel that way. Only a stone cross at the top of the building and a plaque at the entrance betray its former life within a church foundation. The building seems surprisingly bigger on the inside. The rooms are large, with high ceilings. Large arched windows let in a lot of light. Spread over 4 stories, a large basement and then 3 stories up, there is a lot of room. The stairs are a bit too steep for my liking, but the space and the light certainly make up for this. This year marks the 150th year since construction of the building started. It was designated to be the All Saints School, part of the All Saints Church, just a few yards to the northwest on Margaret Street. The church as well as the school were designed by the architect William Butterfield, an architect famous for his designs of churches, with the All Saints Church in Margaret Street as the finest and greatest example of his work, which made him one of the most influential architects of his time. English heritage must agree, as since 2014 they list the building as one of 10 of the most important buildings in Britain.
It was at a church rather than at an industrial site that architecture and engineering first fused to create a new language for the Victorian era. William Butterfield saw the possibilities of coloured and engineered brick for making modern buildings that were both decorative and functional. Subsequently, this polychromatic brick style was adopted by house builders and came to dominate Victorian streets all over the country.
Before All Saints Church was built, it was the location of Margaret Street Chapel, a chapel that has been there since 1760. This chapel must have been an eyesore, as it was described by one of the ministers to the chapel, Frederick Oakley, as
a complete paragon of ugliness.
The plan came up in the 1840s to build a model church on this location as part of the Cambridge Camden Society. William Butterfield, who by that time had already designed and built a dozen churches, was selected to design a new church, and the ground was bought for £14,500. In 1849, John Ruskin published his seminal work, The Seven Lamps of Architecture, calling for a revival of British Gothic and Italian-inspired polychromatic brickwork. The building of the church started in 1850, with services temporarily moving to a chapel on Titchfield Street. The exterior was finished in 1853, and the church was consecrated in 1858, although Butterfield is said to have been involved in improving the building until his death in 1900. The church has a small courtyard which gives access to the church, the vicarage, and what was then the choir school, but is now the parish room and flats for assistant priests. The church would be an example of church architecture for decades, and met with the approval of many, as Ruskin said.
Having done this, we may do anything. And I believe it to be possible for us, not only to equal, but far to surpass in some respects any Gothic yet seen in northern countries.
The red bricks are heavily banded with black bricks, with bands of stone and carved elements in the gates and spires. As the decoration is incorporated in the building, the church is the first example of structural polychromy in London. The final bill for the church came to £70,000. While the church was being constructed, William Butterfield designed the All Saints School, to be erected at 84 Margaret Street. The construction of the building commenced in 1868. The school opened in 1870, According to descriptions, the basement housed staff and there was a space for parish activities. On the ground floor and first floor was where the girls and infants stayed, with the girls having to use the smaller rear entrance or marrowbone passage. Boys stayed at the second floor. The school can't have done too well, because in a poverty map from 1898 it shows that the school was one of the poorest buildings in the area, in contrast to most of Fitzrovia, which seemed quite well off. At the start of the 20th century, the building was mostly used as an overflow building for the church choir school, and in 1926 it became the official building for the choir school. The next year saw the building of the BBC Broadcast House, not too far from Margaret Street. It was also in this year that Venerable Master Hsing was born. In 1928, Master Taishu, a Buddhist modernist, visited Europe with the hope of propagating Buddhism in the West. His encounter with Christian charities would form the basis for his approach of Humanistic Buddhism. In 1945, while studying at Miaoshiang Buddhist College in China, Master Hsing learned about Master Taishu's plans to reform Chinese Buddhism. In 1949, Master Hsing founded a monastic rescue team and headed to Taiwan. Master Hsing approach is said to be very similar to Master Taishu's idea of reforming the Buddhist Sangha. With an ever-growing following, Master Hsing founded several temples. Most notably, in 1966, he started building a very large temple in Kaohsiung on a piece of land he bought. Partially finished, the temple opened in 1967 and was to become the headquarters of Fo Guang Shan. Back in London in 1968, the choir school in Margaret Street closed its doors. 2 years later, the Institute of Christian Studies, a foundation to revive religion in Fitzrovia, opened its doors at 84 Margaret Street. On opening, 12 to 15 people had enrolled to study there an intense part-time course in Christian belief and practices. Besides residential rooms, there was a library, a common room, and a canteen. The restaurant bar in the basement was only short-lived. The institute closed in 1992. A plaque commemorating its official opening, with the then Archbishop of Canterbury Arthur Michael Ramsay, is still visible at the entrance, which reads, Christum scire est omnia scire. To know Christ is to know everything. In the early 90s, Fo Guang Shan bought the building from the All Saints Church and brought their Humanistic Buddhism to London. Paintings and photographs of other Fo Guang Shan temples decorate the entrance. There are now 300 temples in Taiwan alone, over 1,000 monks and nuns, and 1 million followers worldwide, with branches in 50 countries. The main room and all the rooms are on the first floor. The basement is used for meals and other events. Rooms for the Venerables are on the ground floor, together with a room used as a library and teaching space, with frequent classes run together with the Buddha Lights International Association. The top floor has another room with altar. The main objectives of Fo Guang Shan are to propagate Buddhist teachings through cultural activities, to foster talent through education, to benefit society through charitable programs, and to purify human hearts and minds through Buddhist practice. Fo Guang Shan and BLIA organized the celebration of the birthday of the Buddha at Leicester Square and held open house at Margaret Street with chanting, the ritual washing of the Buddha, performances, tea ceremony, and a hands-on calligraphy exhibition. On other occasions, Fo Guang Shan sponsored Buddhist dances, while one of the Venerables represents Fo Guang Shan at a forum on Buddhism in the West. They also organize sports days and special lectures. Education is part of every Fo Guang Shan centre around the world, with schools, colleges and a university. Fo Guang Shan London helps people reconnect with Buddhism, especially among the Asian immigrants in the London area, giving them a sense of home, of belonging, a sense of purpose. The education doesn't stop there. Venerable Master Hsing wrote countless books on the Buddha Dharma. In 2001, Master Hsing started a project to compile an encyclopedia of Buddhist arts. In 2013, this project was completed and translated into English, consisting of 20 volumes and categories such as architecture, caves, sculptures, paintings, calligraphy, artifacts, and people. The project was made possible with help of numerous scholars and volunteers, 300 monastics, 140 scholars from 16 different countries, and more than 400 volunteers. In January 2018, Fo Guang Shan London generously donated a copy of the complete encyclopedia to the Intersectional Centre for Inclusion and Social Justice at Canterbury Christ Church University. I greatly admire how Fo Guang Shan supports some of their members' education by training people to teach Dharma, by funding PhDs, and by co-organizing events on Humanistic Buddhism at universities, such as the one-day forum at Canterbury Christ Church University, co-organized with INCISE, of which I am part. Fo Guang Shan and Buddhist Light International Association are very active as charities and collect large sums of money for all sorts of humanitarian crises. A recent example for this was a charity event to raise funds for lepra, a charity working to beat leprosy. I attended this event on Mother's Day. People were invited to a tea party in aid of lepra. A representative gave an informative talk and explained the importance of this charity, with snacks and entertainment provided by the BLIA volunteers. In Taiwan, they also provide the needy with free medical care, warm clothing in winter, and food. As a practitioner of Buddhism myself, it's wonderful to see so many people participating in the ceremonies at the Fo Guang Shan Temple, where the Venerables lead the devotees into chanting and meditation. The members speaking at different occasions, such as at Parliament House, an occasion that celebrated Master Hsing accomplishments, or at the forum at Canterbury Christ Church University, reported how much the teachings and the practices had changed their lives for the better.
By talking to the friendly staff and the members, this familiar atmosphere suddenly surfaced my homesickness.
The books actually helps me tremendously in my daily life, and I often heard testimonies from my group members that it has actually benefits them.
I would say these teachings have kept me in check, yes, enabled me to have a correct manner and avoid trouble.
26 years in BLIA, and through Master Hsing's teaching, I have found my own potentials. BLIA has provided me a big stage where I can fully realize my abilities.
It's been an absolute pleasure meeting the Venerable members of Fo Guang Shan and the lay people of the Buddhist Light International Association. I wish them all the best in the renovation of the building, and my guess is that in a few years they will have outgrown their temple and would need to build a new one. Hopefully there will be another William Butterfield among their members to help them design a building that is as fitting for them then as 84 Margaret Street is now. With special thanks to Venerable Abbess Miaoshiang and the rest of Fo Guang Shan London and the BLIA members for their trust and the opportunity to make this documentary, which gave me the chance to learn more about Fo Guang Shan, the BLIA and the Venerable Master Hsing.